Hi, Donald Wayne Strout again with another video with things that I have learned that have helped my development and perhaps may help yours. This one is about the tools that are available for improving your development through practice. Obviously, practice is an important part of your driver's development. The golf legends of Ben Hogan and Tiger Woods point to the need for intense and regular practice. Ben Hogan supposedly practiced 8 hours a day, every day of his life as a professional golfer. Tiger Woods increased that and is supposedly practiced as much as 14 hours a day, every day at the peak of his career. So practice is an important part, obviously. There are many ways to practice in iRacing. There's the general official practicing as part of the official race setup and pre-race operations. There's the testing setup that you can set so you can practice by yourself under any conditions that you set. There's obviously the time trial where you are allowed to run laps and you have to run 5 consistent laps without having any off tracks, and then you can compare your performance against other drivers. But I'm sharing here what I think is the absolute best way to practice, which is underutilized, and it's called time attack. Basically, iRacing has provided a series or a system where at the beginning of each season, for particularly racing sessions, for example, Formula V in this case that I'm using as an example, they set up all 12 races in a menu where you can run them under the general racing conditions that they have set up for the particular official racing throughout the season. The conditions are about the same as you will experience in the official racing, with the exception that the wind is not always the same in the official racing. The temperature of the ambient temperature and the track temperatures are. The wind conditions change from time to time. But you can race under those conditions, and then you can compare your performance to other drivers. And here, you're not necessarily required to race without an off track, but basically they will record your very best performance. So you can check to see what your very best performance at the peak, where you're doing the best you can on a particular lap, and compare that to the very best laps of other drivers. You're able to do this for all 12 races of the season, and then you're able to rank your performance against all those other drivers. I'm going to give you an illustration of that here in following sections of this video. I hope you find it useful. I find that time attack has been very useful in implementing the improvements that I have achieved through the drills that I shared in the pedals are the most important part, and it has helped me immensely. So here goes. Let's get on with it. Click through the iRacing UI to the correct places. Move your cursor down to time attack. Click it. It will take you to the menu for time attack. We're going to use the Formula V for an example here, so we're going to scroll down and click on the Formula V for the 12 races. We can set it up as a favorite so that it will make it easier to do that and to come back to that later. But now when we hit the time attack, we just get the Formula V because that's what we set up as a favorite. You can see all the races there. If you wanted to see your performance at a particular one, you could. So here we chose Okayama to test to see our performance. Takes time to load. This is always the boring part of iRacing, is loading all this stuff. So basically we could have run a track time there and tested our performance. Now we're going to drive something else. We're going to go down and we're going to hit the blue section. We're going to see the performance of all the other drivers and where we stack up. Let's say that we want to race against a particular driver, in this case Warren Berlin. Now our ghost car and our segment time or overall lap times can be compared to how Warren Berlin did on this particular track. Very useful and powerful tool. Loading again. There we start. We'll get green as soon as we go through the last corner and hit the start finish line. So be patient until we get to the start finish. We'll have a little cold tires here, so we won't be at our very fastest.
Green, green, green.
But as soon as we pass the start finish line, a ghost car will appear. In this case, it will be Warren Berlin's car, and we're racing against Warren Berlin. He's ahead of us with a fixed segment, and we set that up in our menu for the iRacing criteria, so we can choose whatever gap we want to start with. You can see we're racing against him, and he's pulling away. You can see the difference between our lap time and his up there in the red bar right below the virtual mirror. Green, we're gaining on him. Red, we're losing time against him. White, we're neutral. So there we go. That illustrates that concept, and it's a pretty powerful concept. You can compare your performance to anybody on that menu, anytime, as many of the different drivers you can. So again, you can see the overall performance for all 12 races. If you run all 12, you can see your ranking against all the other drivers. You can see in this case, I'm number 3 overall. Warren Berlin is ahead of me, and William Scaramuzino, who is very quick, by the way, is shown there. So you get to see how you stack up against all the other drivers. A very powerful tool. Okay, so let's review that setting where we can choose to compare our performance against another driver using the segment and lap comparisons in the ghost card. Go back into time attack, let it load, have a cup of coffee while we're waiting. Obviously, we're at a different track this time. We're at Muskogee, or that's how you pronounce it. So open time attack. Now go down into your lap comparison section there. You'll see the cursor pointing to the comparison lap, and you'll see I picked Warren Berlin, and you'll see his time there as a comparison for both optimum and the best. You can change that to the overall optimal lap or the overall best lap, and that will be your best times. So you can compare, you can race against yourself to see how you're doing versus your optimum and your best lap, or you can change it to run against another driver, in this case Warren Berlin. We're going to run against Warren Berlin here. Remember, the tires are cold, so we won't be running at our very fastest. All right, so here we go, green, green, green coming up. As soon as we as soon as we reach the start-finish line, Warren Berlin's car will show up in front of us. There he is. I've set the time that separates us initially. You can see I'm gaining on him through this section, and now I'm losing. Red is up in the segment comparison, right below the virtual mirror. If you'll notice, he took a much different line than I did. So you get to compare your time as well as your car positioning compared to the other driver. So now we're going to go into Garage 61 telemetry and compare our actual on-track telemetry to another driver. We can't use Warren Berlin because he's not listing his performance in Garage 61, but we can use the number 1 ranked driver, William Scaramuzzino. So we find our time, then we go to the Add Laps section, and we look for William Scaramuzzino. Type in find the driver there. You have to go to all laps, not best laps, but all laps. And there's his lap time. Go over there and make that comparison. Just verify that you're talking about time attack for his and time attack for yours. Then analyze the selected laps. You can see the weather is the same. Are you going to see some changes here? You're going to see some important differences. You're going to see the fact that he was significantly different, taking a significantly different line through turn 1 or turn 2, whichever, that long sweeper going into the downhill section. You can see he was way to the right as he exited that section. We'll call it the initial section. I call it turn 1. You'll see, however, that I was able to keep exactly the same lap time as he was almost halfway through the course. You can see we're still even with him, pretty much even with him just as we go through this 1 hairpin. But he then gains significantly, gains a lot of time as he goes through this hairpin and others. We'll expand that and see what's going on here, and you can see basically he used a lot less braking force than I did, so I slowed the car down much more than he did going through the corner. Lose a lot of time in the next hairpin. Pretty much the same problem. I'm over braking in all the corners. I'm using way too much brake force. He's going through the corners a lot faster than I am and gaining a lot of time in that last section of 1, 2, basically 3 hairpins. Almost all of it is in the brake section. There's my dog talking to us in the background. So you get to see your track position and your relative track time, your braking traces, your throttle positions, choice of gear ratios. He's actually going down into, you can see in 1 hairpin, he's actually going down into 2nd gear. I'm not using 2nd gear anywhere. The combination of time attack and Garage 61 telemetry is absolutely amazing. It will help you improve your performance at every track. In every circumstance, it is a great way to achieve better performance. I mentioned earlier that time attack is underutilized. Fortunately, in Formula V, there is reasonably good participation. I think in this case, so far, there was about 37 drivers that have run all 12 tracks. In some of the other cars, you'll see the participation is much less. But I think that will improve as people become more familiar with the value of this system. Time attack in addition and with the use of additional telemetry analysis is a very powerful way to improve your driver performance. I hope this video has been useful, and I hope to see you on the track, and have a great day.